Turkey hit by mystery drone blast after joining the anti-Iran, anti-Houthi bloc? Drone crashes into a Turkish police station, shattering windows at nearby offices. Erdogan faces a fresh security scare days after joining hands with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan? A suspected drone crashed inside the grounds of a police station in Trabzon's Arsin district on August 18, triggering an immediate investigation into where the aircraft came from. The incident took place around 7 p.m. and damaged several vehicles parked inside the police compound, while the blast also caused significant disruption at the site. The explosion shattered windows at the police station and nearby offices, but authorities said no injuries were reported despite the sudden impact. CCTV footage circulating online captured the moment the suspected unmanned aircraft crashed into the site, followed by a powerful blast. The details of the incident were reported by the Kyiv Independent on August 19, adding to questions over the drone's origin and possible purpose. Trabzon Governor Tahir Sahin visited the crash site as Turkish experts began examining the wreckage and collecting evidence from the damaged area. Authorities said the object was preliminarily identified as an unmanned aerial vehicle, although its exact type and origin remained unclear. Investigators are now working to determine where the drone came from, why it crashed, and whether the incident was accidental or linked to a wider operation. Turkey did not immediately blame any country or military operation for the incident, leaving the circumstances surrounding the crash unresolved. The mysterious incident came only weeks after Turkey signed a mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, adding greater regional significance to the timing. The emerging alliance was widely viewed as part of a broader regional security alignment involving Iran and Israel, as tensions continue to reshape the Middle East. Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a mutual defense agreement in Mecca on August 7, bringing their leaders together amid heightened regional turmoil and security concerns across the Gulf. The pact unites three major Sunni Muslim powers that each retain important, though very different, relationships with the United States, combining Saudi financial influence, Turkish military-industrial capacity, and Pakistan's armed forces. Notably, none of the three states maintains full diplomatic relations with Israel, creating a rare security grouping of U.S.-linked powers that remains politically separate from Washington's closest Middle Eastern partner. Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia signed the deal amid a widening Gulf crisis, with regional states facing attacks, threats, and growing uncertainty following the confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel. Turkey brings NATO's second-largest military by personnel. Saudi Arabia contributes immense Gulf influence and defense spending, while Pakistan adds a battle-tested military and the only nuclear arsenal in the Muslim world. Riyadh has been seeking to deepen security cooperation with key partners as it looks for stronger deterrence and more reliable regional arrangements beyond traditional dependence on Washington. At the same time, Saudi Arabia has raised alarm over growing regional threats from Iran-aligned groups, particularly as maritime, missile and drone risks have increased across the Gulf and Red Sea. Ebrahim Rizai, a member of Iran's Parliamentary National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, reacted on August 7 after Saudi Arabia signed the new defense agreement with Turkey and Pakistan in Mecca. Rizai posted his response on X, directly criticizing the newly signed Mecca Joint Deterrence Agreement and warning Riyadh not to mistake new partners for guaranteed protection. Ebrahim Rizai said, and I quote, "Saudis must know that a paper agreement with Turkey and Pakistan will not bring them security. Just as years of one-sided nursing to the Americans did not bring them security. Reform your policies so that you do not need to beg for security from others." End quote. Iran's warning comes at a time of growing security concerns for Saudi Arabia, as conflict in the Gulf and Red Sea increases the risks facing the kingdom's cities, infrastructure and energy export routes. Earlier in the regional conflict, Iran launched attacks against Saudi-linked targets using drones and missiles, presenting them as retaliation against states it accused of facilitating U.S. military operations. Tehran has argued that any country providing territory, facilities, or practical support for U.S. action against Iran could be treated as part of the confrontation and therefore exposed to retaliation. While Iran has not recently claimed direct strikes against Saudi Arabia, Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement has continued attacks and threats against Saudi-linked vessels, ports, and oil infrastructure. The Houthis declared a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia after Saudi strikes on Houthi-held Yemen, saying Saudi-connected ships and vessels using Saudi Red Sea ports could be targeted. The Houthi blockade and wider Iran war have put Saudi oil export routes under major pressure, threatening to reduce flows through the Red Sea and creating new uncertainty for Riyadh's energy revenues and global markets.
Hundreds of Saudi enemy troops, including Saudi commanders and officers, were killed or wounded. A large number of depots and pieces of equipment belonging to Saudi enemy concentrations were set ablaze and destroyed. We warn the Saudi regime against the dangers of escalating the situation. Any comprehensive escalation will be met with a comprehensive escalation.
Houthis have made fresh claims about their operations against Saudi forces and shipping. The Houthis say they have imposed 3 new equations against Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia faces fresh pressure as the Houthis claim heavy losses among its forces. The Houthis claim Saudi gunboats were sunk and dozens of oil vessels were forced to turn back. The Red Sea crisis deepens as the Houthis claim a major blockade of Saudi-linked shipping.
O'Day, the Yemeni armed forces possess the strength to dictate the terms of engagement. With God's help, they have successfully established 3 such equations. The first is blockade for blockade, wherein we have imposed a tight siege on the enemy, preventing the passage of even a single ship. The second is striking Saudi troop concentrations wherever they are located. The third is protecting Yemen's sovereignty and countering any enemy incursions. In implementation of the blockade for blockade equation, and in the period between the announcement of the ban on maritime navigation for Saudi enemy on July 20th and the present day, August 19th, the Yemeni armed forces have successfully targeted 8 Saudi oil tankers, 5 in the Red Sea and 3 in the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea. Additionally, 48 Saudi oil tankers were prevented from passing and forced to turn back. 34 were blocked in the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean, and 14 were blocked in the Red Sea. As part of the response to Saudi aggression against Sana'a Airport and the Port of Hodeidah, and to enforce the equation protecting Yemeni sovereignty against airspace violations, particularly over the Sada and Hajj governorates, the Yemeni armed forces carried out 9 military operations. These targeted Yanbu, Nadran, Jizan, Aba, and oil supply infrastructure in the eastern province. Furthermore, to enforce the equation of targeting Saudi troop concentrations wherever they exist, the armed forces conducted 14 military operations. These targeted Saudi enemy concentrations in Al-Rawaiq, Al-Abyar, Al-Wadiya, Marib, and Al-Mukha, as well as enemy ships and boats transporting equipment and troops. The results of these operations included the following. Hundreds of Saudi enemy troops, including Saudi commanders and officers, were killed or wounded. A large number of depots and pieces of equipment belonging to Saudi enemy concentrations were set ablaze and destroyed. 2 military landing vessels transporting Saudi weapons and troop reinforcements in Al-Mukha were set ablaze and sunk. More than 10 gunboats belonging to Saudi-led forces, which have been engaging in acts of piracy, banditry, and looting in the Red Sea under Saudi direction, were set ablaze and sunk. We warn the Saudi regime against the dangers of escalating the situation. Any comprehensive escalation will be met with a comprehensive escalation. The Saudi regime has no choice but to lift the blockade and implement the agreed-upon terms. Lifting the blockade, ending the aggression, paying salaries, withdrawing occupying forces, and leaving the Yemeni people's wealth to the people themselves. We advise our misled fellow countrymen to return and leave the enemy camps. They are Yemenis, and we do not wish to target them or see them become casualties.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.